Welcome to the only podcast that's flame grilled to perfection. It's the Redenbacher podcast. I'm your host, Matt Murphy, joined by Commander Ben Bullerwell. What's cracking, Ben?
Oh, buddy, breakfast, eggs are cracking, something like that.
The
I don't
rice
know.
as well as the Krispies are cracking, and it's
They're
crazy.
they're popping too, buddy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
is this episode.
I
So
heard tell of Pop. Yeah, this episode was really, really cool. I'm excited to talk about it.
yeah, this is a super interesting episode. There's so many elements that make it a good episode, but we'll get into that as we get along in things.
Yeah, so without further ado, we're receiving a transmission. Exactly. The transmission machine seems to be a little under the weather this week, but nonetheless, we received an episode called "Lasting Impressions," directed by Kelly Cronin and written by our friend in New York, Seth MacFarlane. And I like the title of this episode, "Lasting Impressions," because it is going to leave a lasting impression on me. I think this was a really deep episode.
Yeah, this episode's left me with like a lot actually on my mind afterwards. I won't lie, like I cried a little bit, I laughed a lot. This episode was all over the place and all the places you want to be all over. Um,
It was heavy stuff.
yeah, super heavy stuff, man.
From a Gordon episode, no less. Like he's like the silliest member of the crew, arguably. He's the one that said it was the weirdest ship in the fleet, and yet this is the most heart wrenching episode for me so far.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like Gordon's kind of happy-go-lucky, silly guy, and well, today he's not so well. He is happy-go-lucky, but not for the whole episode.
Yeah, no kidding. So we'll talk about this episode in two parts because there's the A story with Gordon and the B story with Bortus. So we'll separate the two, so it's much easier to talk about.
They're both
Yeah,
great, so stay tuned because B plot's coming second.
yeah, for sure. So we opened the episode to an array of items on the table from 2015. We learned that they're from a time capsule. Dr. Sherman tells us, and you might recognize Dr. Sherman, old Star Trek fans there, and he was Tuvok in Voyager.
Yes, sir. Myself being a large Trek fan, Voyager actually being my favorite series. When I heard the opening scene, and before you even see Dr. Sherman, you can hear Tim Russ's voice, and you're just like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And then you see him, and you're like, oh my God, it's Tuvok! What
Yeah,
up, my boy?
it was really cool to see him in this episode, and it was a nice role for him. I don't know if we'll see Dr. Sherman again, but the door is open.
I sure hope so, man. Sure
What
hope
is
so,
what is he
man.
like? An archaeologist, an Indiana Jones style figure, or what? What are we looking at?
Um, in this episode or Tuvok?
No,
Sorry.
I mean like Dr. Sherman.
Oh, Dr. Sherman. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be like he's some sort of scientist, perhaps, or maybe an archaeologist. Really, I
Or
mean,
like a museum curator or something. I don't know what he
yeah,
does.
he's involved with history at some capacity.
Yeah, either way, it's just weird to think of items from like, 3 or 4 years ago as being like archaeological finds or whatever. That's cool.
It's pretty neat. Yeah, you're right. Because like when we do excavations on things, we'll find pottery, we'll find this and that. We might, you know what I mean. But it's interesting actually, because yeah, you think about what the future holds. A couple hundred years from now, they might find like ruins of maybe like an apartment building that fell apart, and you find like old televisions and old, you know what I mean. It's really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's cool. It's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah, it's super neato.
So the time capsule items include a bottle of 5 Hour Energy, a can of Coke, a light bulb. I think it's a filament light bulb. I'm not sure. A container of Spam, a New York Yankees hat, a copy of USA Today, a copy of 50 Shades of Grey, just so people know what garbage looks like, some U.S. currency, a birthday card, some Purell, a Snickers bar, an X-Men T-shirt, some flip-flops, a box of Oreos. If you get that reference, message me. A cell phone and a copy of Minecraft, as well as some cigarettes. I didn't notice the copy of Minecraft at first when I saw it. I thought it was Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, and I was like, no, why would you preserve that for anyone?
No, burn that shit.
Yeah,
Well,
but I thought it was Nuts and Bolts. But I wasn't far off because they're both creativity-based games. And Minecraft, for what it's worth, I mean, it is a cool system for kids. It is a cool platform for kids to get their ideas out there and inspire creativity.
yeah, it's kind of like digital Lego. That's how I like to think about
Yeah,
Minecraft.
exactly, exactly. No, it was really cool to see the time capsule, and there's flip flops in there, but it seems like they still wear at least like sandals, as we saw with Tharl a few weeks back. So,
Oh my gosh. No, you're
yeah,
right. Maybe the flip-flop has been kind of like out a little bit, but sandals live on, man. Like Jesus Christ wore sandals. Like
yeah. Even though religions have gone by the wayside for the most part. Uh,
yes, yeah.
it was cool. Tala tries on the Yankees hat, and he says, and Lamar says that she looks like a bona fide Earther. It's cool they use the term Earther and not Terran or anything like that. I noticed.
Yeah, no, it was kind of neat, and Tal, I think you look exceptionally good in that Yankees hat as well. Like just putting that out there.
Yeah, Tala's got a couple of looks this episode. We see hipster Tala later on at the Pictionary game night party, but the good looks for her nonetheless.
Super hip. Like I almost didn't recognize her for half a second.
Yeah, exactly. What's kind of interesting is here on the Redenbacher, as we look back to the past, we're almost looking at a time capsule when we look at these old episodes. So we're looking at a time capsule of a time capsule. It's cool stuff.
A time capsule of a time capsule. Someone should write that down. Something's going on there. It's
You
making me
never know.
think.
You never know. So yeah, the crew of the Orville is tasked with bringing the time capsule to a museum, and they are very much like the Planet Express delivery crew from time to time on this thing, where you just have to kind of like deliver stuff. Which I'm okay with that if we get episodes like this.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this kind of stuff in previous Star Trek episodes, and they're like, bringing medical supplies to a colony or something like that. So, I mean, the delivery game, being a space courier isn't. Well, actually, it's not all that bad. Like we've seen Futurama, like
Yeah,
it's pretty cool stuff.
it's a fun
So
life.
good on them, Orville.
Yeah, exactly. As we see the cigarettes, Bortus asked about them, and he seems intrigued. It's Bortus that's looking for cigarettes, but it's Gordon that's trying to get a hologram of love. No,
Oh
I had to do that, but
no, it was a good one. I like that very much. Uh,
yeah. What would you put in a time capsule if we made one right now? What would you put in it?
oh man, that's an excellent question. I mean, you'd want something that like captivates, like not only like the time frame that you lived in, but like maybe who you are as an individual. Um, Honestly, I really don't know what I would put in. I might put in like a scrapbook of, like things that I write down or, like art that I like to work on or something like that. Because I think that's a good way of expressing oneself, obviously, like
Yeah,
artistic outlets. And it might be a good way for the potential unbarrier of the time capsule to really, I don't know, understand what I was thinking, what I was doing, kind of who I was as an individual in my time and space
yeah.
in
It's a nice
planet
snapshot.
Earth. Yeah. What would you put in, Matt?
I'd put in the meme of like the bad luck Brian meme. So they would be like, "Who is this bad luck Brian person?" And they would try to simulate his life in the simulator. Then we'd see bad luck Brian. Although it'd be pretty similar to Gordon's life at this point because he does seem to be getting a lot of bad luck here.
It wouldn't be all that far off, really.
No,
Someone
no.
should make a bad luck Gordon meme.
You know what? We might have to. I'm sure the Orville Meme Depot will be right on that if they
I don't
ever.
always fall in love, but when I do, it's with a hologram of a dead
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah, I put that in there in a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos. So they're not my favorite, but they give me the best vibe.
It's all about that vibe, passing on the vibes of Doritos to the future.
And of course, a copy of Shrek 2, the greatest movie our generation ever created. Just to get the Shrek prints in there real quick.
I had to throw it in, and I don't blame you one bit. It was
Yeah,
well placed, Matt, right in the time capsule next
yeah.
to.
Better call Slipknot before I forget here, but I just had to slip that reference in there.
Oh, jeez, these puns. It's just one after another after another.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, better move along.
All American before we become an all American reject, like.
Well, what's cool is like this podcast. I mentioned it. It's kind of like a time capsule talking about a time capsule, but a podcast is like a time capsule as well, where we exist throughout the ether. You could be listening to this, in the past and the future. We're hoping that somehow we can transmit it through time so that people of the 21st century can enjoy our takes on it from the future.
Absolutely, and it might get us some views in advance. Before the podcast's even out, we might have 100 views.
Exactly. You never know.
Working on that.
Yeah, it's cool because you have one person is attracted to one vice of the 21st century, the cigarettes, and another is intrigued by the cell phone. We have Gordon that looks at the cell phone and realizes it's like a telecommunication device, and like the wires are frayed so they can't charge it, so they have to go to engineering to figure out a way to get it to work.
Yo, just like a quick second here. I love that part when Dr. Sherman he's talking. He's like, interesting. We see instead of saying the what is it like? It was an
WTF, I have it in
acronym.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Wireless telecommunications facility.
Yeah, I love that bit so much. It's just like, okay, well, maybe that's how we are when we look at the past, We put
Yeah,
things from our time frame into someone else's mouth, perhaps.
I love that.
Um,
I love the way they're so like matter of fact, but it's like as you can see, the way they communicate with each other, instead of just mentioning they need to go repair their phone, they just use the letters WTF. It must mean wireless telecommunications facility. When it really is just like, you know what it means. We can't
what
say it
the
on the podcast. Yeah,
fluff?
exactly. So it's nice to see just how far removed your perspective can change a view of certain things.
Absolutely, yeah, it's neat, like your time frame, like I mean, as we know about language, language is always changing how we use it. And yeah, it's just kind of cool to see like that oversight, and yeah, it made me think of like, well, hey, wait a minute. I mean, I know this is just a joke, but like, how do we know that we're interpreting things correctly when we look at like time capsules or excavation sites or anything like
Or
that?
any written text, anything, even this episode, how we know we're interpreting it? Like, what's the right way to interpret something? When you're a writer, you could have one idea in mind, but someone could interpret those words negatively and go and do something terrible that you had never even thought of. So it's so many variables involved with text and entertainment.
Absolutely. But anyway, I guess we'll kind of jump back into things here.
Mosey on along here. Yeah, we're in engineering, and they're trying to repair the phone. Lamar's got some good ideas. He tries to like reconfigure the technology to think in their 21st century ways, but it's Yaphet with the golden idea of, did you try turning it on and off again? That really saves the day.
This is such like a clip from like the IT crowd or whatever. Just like,
Yeah,
well, have you tried turning it on and off? Like,
yeah,
uh,
that's like the pilot kind of deal stuff. But yeah, Gordon and Lamar finally get the phone working, and they scroll through and they see text messages and stuff, as well as a video from a woman named Laura Huggins, and she has a message for the future and says that she left her phone in the time capsule, and hopefully she leaves a good impression on the future.
and what an impression she leaves on the future.
Yeah, for sure. This is a cool role here, played by Leighton Meester. I've seen her in a few things. She's a great actress, and I think she did a great job playing like a modern woman that's just encased in 2015. She feels like she's got the same desires and the same the same leisure activities that anyone would in this time or even in 2019, when the episode aired.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a good representation of the past, and I mean, it's really interesting because when I was seeing like everything that was in the time capsule, like the cigarettes, like the baseball hat, like the X-Men shirt, the 5 Hour Energy. Yeah,
Yeah,
these are all like things from, I mean, not necessarily the year 2015, but like from like our kind of time frame.
yeah.
But they don't really like. I don't know. Like, they don't really summarize much. You know what I mean? Tobacco use has been used for thousands of years. Like New York Yankees, we've had those hats for, I don't know when the New York Yankees first like became a team or any of that, but like I'm gonna say like almost a century. I don't know. Like all these things are kind of like they give you a small glimpse into like little bits and pieces, like a puzzle. But like Laura Higgins just left us like the mother lode of like cultural background, like referencing, like it was super cool. It made me really like it's brilliant, actually. It's really interesting idea
This
to
was
put.
clever.
I liked it.
Even the way that Dr. Sherman says later on when they show him that they've managed to crack the code and get the phone working, he says ancient media records tell us what the world wanted us to see, but finds like this can help us tell us who people were. So it's beyond like just what looks good on paper. This is like the real nitty gritty stuff that you see.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because, like, obviously this is like the age of social media. And yeah, like everyone kind of, they post this, they post that. I mean, hell, we post a lot of stuff too. Check it out on the Redenbacher.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
But
On
anyway,
on
on
Insta there and Twitter.
yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting because like he says, like yeah, like everyone will share what they want people to see, and they kind of glorify their life in such a way that's appealing to hopefully their peers.
Mm.
But it doesn't really give you an accurate idea of what like their life really is. And this totally gave them like a phenomenal insight to this individual and some people that were involved in her life. Super interesting, super super cool.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people already think our phones are listening to us, but look at this data they got from a 2015 phone. Just any word she said on the phone and stuff like that was, I guess, absorbed into the memory of the phone because they managed to get her voice and everything. That could just be from video and stuff. But, a lot of people think that phones are already listening to us. And, not to mention, I'm not even going to bring up the Alexa of it all. If it was the Alexa, you could probably just like get like a living member of, you just get Laura living on the crew probably regularly if they could extract data from an Alexa. But it is interesting to see.
Yeah, it's super neat. And yeah, Big Brother's definitely watching. Like,
Well,
sorry, that's my paranoia for the day. Sorry.
it's cool the way they talk about her phone, how she wants to like donate it to the capsule because it's like giving up your body to science in a way, where they're going through all of everything of your being, basically your thoughts, your feelings, which is even more intimate than going through your body realistically and using your body to teach in science in a medical school or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's actually a really good that's a really good comparison there. Because, yeah, it's like, there's like a thing in the video when she's like, now I'm dead now. You guys can figure out if I was cool or like a bitch or like whatever. And it's true, actually. It's like we all know like the fear of like misplacing your phone and you're like, oh my God, like that's my life. Like I have like everything, like personal messages. I have like, personal notes on my phone. I've got like all this
Credit
personal
card info.
information. Yeah, like photos of like me and my friends and
Hmm.
and yeah, it's extremely personal, and you're right. Like to donate that to like a time capsule, it's literally like a chapter of someone's life.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny when you see the phone log. There's a few. There's you can see some of the text, and there's one from a Grayson, hopefully not Kelly Grayson, that says "send nudes," which is pretty accurate probably to the time. But what's funny is I think it was probably a message there from Nightwing who was just trying to send a dick pic, would just be a picture of himself because he is Dick Grayson. So you never know. You never know.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. I like the effort they went into to making the phone seem realistic. And yeah, it's like an Apple phone, but whatever. It's interesting how the phone kind of still has Wi-Fi and service on the ship, but I'll allow it for this great episode.
Yeah, like did Gordon also synthesize like a 4G LTE like radio reception?
Is a simulator so good that it has like an active cell signal at all times, can simulate like a Telus tower or something, or Verizon. I don't know.
Yeah, super neato.
But it's interesting. Gordon heads down to the simulator and asks it to create a new program. And it's cool. The voice of the Orville is Rachel McFarlane. That's Seth MacFarlane's sister. She does a great job, I find. It was her birthday this week. I'd like to wish her a happy birthday. And on the day that we're recording this, it's Jay Lee's birthday as well. So hope you have a good one. And thanks for bringing the glory of Lamar to the ship.
Oh, that's a double birthday. Well, for this week's episode, it's a double birthday in that aspect. So yeah, I'd like to have a big happy birthday to Rachel and of course to our boy Lamar.
Yeah, and William Shatner as well. He turned 88 this year. And here's to many more, William Shatner, the man that helped start it all.
I hope he comes back to Fan Expo next year.
Buddy, me too.
I'm gonna pay for that photo this time.
Or cheesy. What a legend. What a legend. So this is cool here. Gordon gets the simulator to like scan her phone, scan Laura's phone, and then like absorb basically its data and make a simulation based on Laura's life. This is a cool concept.
Thank God for like NFC, because like what I thought was funny is like they get like the phone powered back on, but it's like who the hell has like one of those Apple like 6-pin
No,
like charger?
no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, that was pretty cool. And Gordon enters the simulator, and it's just like a 2015 party or somewhere around 2015. She's got rid of that phone in 2015, so it could be like 2013, 2014. Yeah, as Gordon enters, I noticed like a guy bumps into him, and I thought that was Greg. If you guys, if viewers out there, listeners know or can tell the difference, I thought it was Greg. Ben says it's probably a different guy, but it'd be cool if it was.
Yeah, I don't think it's Greg for a couple of reasons. The guy does look like Greg,
Mhm.
but A, he doesn't have the beard. B, in that scene, Laura says like, "Oh, like the breakup was so messy, it'd be awkward to stay in that old house." Like, and it would just be weird if she found so much pain in staying in the house that they lived in when they broke up, that I think it'd be weird that she'd invite him to her new party. But I mean, hell, I don't know. If
It's
you
true.
guys know, let us know, so then we'll all know.
I just like it for the element of like Gordon didn't even realize he just bumped into something that he missed, something he was missing of like, oh, this is the ex-boyfriend. That's still like a shadow hanging over Laura, and she's not quite over him. So he's, doomed before he even began, even though falling in love with a simulator is kind of kind of a zero-sum game.
Absolutely. And you know what? This is interesting. For those of us like who've watched Voyager, there's an episode where Harry Kim, he falls in love with the hologram, a girl from the hologram. And Tuvok is actually the one who gets better luck with her, although he's not interested, but she falls for Tuvok in the end, and Harry Kim is very jealous and obsessive. And yeah, it's just interesting because we've seen this kind of stuff in Star Trek before. I mean, it's a tough one, like actually. I mean, and if you really want to think about it, I mean, aside from programming, the Doctor, that's Robert Picardo on Voyager, he's a hologram. He's the emergency medical hologram, but he's treated as an equal. But it is relative to
But he
his
is like alive
programming.
though, right? He's like alive
Yes,
somewhere else.
he is
Yeah.
a sentient. No, no, no. He was modeled after a doctor or the engineer or someone like that. But he's not actually a real person. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I just thought it was an interesting thing because I guess it really comes down to just being a sentient being and being a self-aware being, which really, I guess, defines life in this
Yeah.
strange kind of means of like photonic energy. Anyway.
That's cool. It's interesting. Yeah, Gordon enters the party and he sees Laura in the kitchen, pretends to be a friend of Lorenzo, and he lies his way into Laura's life. It's interesting. Laura mentions that she loves her new place and she just got out of a bad breakup, and
Mhm.
that bad breakup does loom large over the story.
Oh hell yeah. She continues and she says that her and her ex were together for 9 years, so like that's a huge amount of time. Gordon's like, wow, I love this so. Wow, I don't even think I've owned a shirt for that long, and it's, oh my god.
It reminds me of last week when Oren was saying was like, "Oh yeah, you still had a mohawk back then." You know what I mean? Like he's gone through a fun times.
Oh yeah. So Laura also mentions that
She
she
works.
works at Macy's, and this is funny because I rewatched the episode on Fox's website. You just like sign in through your TV service provider, blah blah blah. And anyway, I started getting Macy's ads. I actually sent a photo to Matt, and I just
Yeah.
thought it was the strangest thing. I was like, is it not like a crazy coincidence here? But anyway, yeah. So she does mention that she works at Macy's, and she has like a pretty bleak moment there where she's like, yeah, I want to slip my wrist every time I say that, but whatever. She's like, get ready for the generic kind of answer. My real passion is music. Oh my god! And she's actually like, I don't know if the actor is involved in the music scene. Like she must be, because oh my god, she's amazing.
She
Like,
got them pipes. Yeah, she's talented. A lot of actors can sing as well. A lot of times it's required, especially if you're like on Broadway or something. But yeah, no question she can sing. If that was her voice that we heard, for sure, she killed it.
mm-hmm. Um, Gordon goes back and he chats up Lamar and he's just talking about how real it was, how believable it was, like how fluid everything was. Um, and you can see that this is like the beginning of quite a obsession.
Yeah, it's beyond a simulation now. This is he tries to move this into his regular life, and you can't. A simulation is just a simulation. You can't really do much more than that. You're simulating an experience, but you're not really experiencing one fully.
I mean, we all know like Gordon's had a hard time, and he mentioned something later about he's never found anyone on the Orville or anything like that. So why can't they just be happy for him? But like yeah, this is not like a healthy means of finding love or cheating yourself into feeling loved. It's so unhealthy on so many levels. But I mean, honestly, you know, you could probably see the appeal in it. Like you could see like how that would happen. I mean, we've
Oh,
seen a
hell
couple
yeah.
episodes of this before in Star Trek, and
In 2019 in Asia, there's a guy that married a hologram. So literally, there's a guy who married a hologram where it like appears on like a console in rooms in his house, and he legally married it. So yeah, there's that right now. So of course, if you had a full simulation device, you would see this from time to time.
yeah, no, it's true. That's really crazy though. I didn't know a guy actually married a hologram.
Yeah, yeah. I hope they're happy together. I hope that does the holographic side of the wedding party have to pay or not? I don't know how that works.
Well, if she's inviting her whole family, you're gonna have to pay a programmer to program them first.
Yeah. So Gordon and Lamar are having this discussion, and Gordon says, "We look at these images of people who lived hundreds of years ago, and they're so distant looking that it's easy to think they don't matter. But then you stand in a room like that, and you realize that this used to be their world, and it was just as alive to them as ours is to us." And Lamar says, "Hey man, you didn't like do drugs in there, right?" And Gordon goes, "No, no, 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 no. It's a totally natural high." And I like it because that is what you'd be thinking. Some people would be thinking like, "Are you on drugs? You cannot experience that. Like, it's not the same as really being there."
I mean, their technology is super duper cool and it's very practical, very believable, but I mean, to kind of, but you know what? Honestly, like I'm gonna cut myself off there because when I'm watching this, it felt real to the viewer too. Like I didn't think about it being all like a hologram. Like I just thought about Gordon's love and everything. I'm with
Yeah.
Gordon. It seems real.
The episode about a simulation was in itself a simulation as what would happen if someone had access to a simulator and fell in love. So there's like two or three different like layers. It's like Inception where you got to go underneath. And yeah, it's cool to see a simulation just like we watch a movie and learn from it. It's a simulation, but things don't happen 100% like that. And as much as the computer or the simulator can replicate what it saw on the phone, that isn't exactly an authentic experience that it's showing.
No, you're right. It's a compilation of data and this and that and the other thing, and it's just strung together into a program. And I mean, yeah, like it is what it is, Gordon. I know it sucks, but oh well, I guess.
Exactly. It seems so real, and that's why it has such an impact. So after Lamar keeps talking to him, Lamar tells him to keep a sanity check on, which is a good way of saying, "Hey, like, don't let this get the best of you." and that he says this girl's been dead for 3.5 centuries, which is, he knows he's putting distance between them.
He didn't know he was going to turn into it at that extent, but he kind of sees how it could be intriguing and how someone like Gordon could, well, not to like kind of solo out Gordon, like a lot of people could kind of probably get caught up in that trap. But Lamar is definitely trying to be a bro right now, and he's like, yeah, Gordon, don't let this go too far,
He's
like,
looking out for his boy, yeah.
yeah, it's one thing to explore and as like a scientific or like a cultural, like a historical kind of perspective, but when you get personally involved in a simulation, well, yeah, like it's only going to be heartache.
Yeah, we get our first glimpse of casual Gordon as he's walking on the way to the simulator. He's wearing his polo shirt. He's going for an end of the town, and you're just so cocky. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go and simulate whatever this experience." Like he has no business being there, but here he goes, and he enters a simulation of a bar, and we see Laura singing quite beautifully, I must add.
Super, super beautifully. Yeah. So Gordon's like, whoa, super intrigued. He's like dumbfounded. He looks like he's in awe. But yeah,
Yeah, I wrote here that this story I found it was around this point, like after thinking about this episode, I was realizing like it's a great metaphor this for meeting someone at the wrong time, whether it be years in the future or when they're in love with someone else, where it could be a relationship where you're in the 25th century and they're in the 21st and you're looking at a simulation. You feel it's just as out of place as if you were to meet someone and realize they have a boyfriend. It's like, hey, I'm in the wrong time. There's nothing I can do. The only
no.
the only thing I'm guilty of is being here at the wrong time.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true, man. It is actually a really good metaphor. You're right. Like, oftentimes we meet people and we're very attached to them or intrigued by them and this and that. And then, maybe we allow ourselves to think a certain way or to kind of anticipate certain things. But yeah, it's like in divine time, perhaps. But, can't control these things. Things click and sometimes they're seconds apart. And sometimes they're 400 years apart.
Yeah, and you can't get mad at the other person. It's not their fault. They're just existing. It's not. It's not the other person's fault either that they just so happen to have met them first. There's really nothing you can do.
No, you're right. It's super interesting, man. How just time, how much like influence. Just yeah, it's a good one, Matt. Yeah, dude. Sometimes the time just isn't right, and anticipation really brings us down. We should just flow with it, I guess. But
yeah, I wasn't going to mention this in the podcast, but timing is everything. Like the Redenbacher Reddit account was kicked out of the Orville subreddit this week, and I was really bummed about it. But then I got an offer from Orville Central to go and write blogs for them and to post our podcast on there every week. And it was I was pretty bummed out, but now I'm really excited about what future we might have on the Orville Central, which is a great site. It's just Orville Central, not the Orville Central, and it's a great site. Check it out.
It's super cool. It looks fantastic. Matt's been mostly in communication with the individual hosting the website, so I'm not familiar with him. I don't know his name. I haven't personally spoken to him, but I would like to take the chance to say thank you very much. I think it's a brilliant website, and I can't wait to see where things go.
Yeah, the future's looking bright. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, back to the episode here. Laura mentions that all she wants is to be remembered. Like that's her great fear is like to be forgotten and stuff. She's basically like Bender in that Futurama episode with the Pharaoh, and it makes sense. A lot of people want to feel like they left a mark on this planet. They're not just a speck of dust on this planet Earth here.
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, being a human being, it's like, we understand that our existence is temporary. Like, we study history. Unfortunately, we have no means of monitoring the future except for predictions and, in some belief systems, prophecy.
We have The Simpsons. That's the closest thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Simpsons is the closest glimpse into the future we have currently. And I mean, yeah, when you think about your life, and if you don't have like a religious belief where your life is given meaning or whatever, and you have something to look forward to at the end of your life and things like that, mortality is a very scary concept. I mean, time is so important, and we want to make the most out of like every minute. We want to like live to the fullest and all this other generic stuff that you always hear. But it's really true. And to think that, like, it's all going to be over in the blink of an eye and we're just going to return to, like, the carbon and all these, like, molecules that we're composed of. And that's my belief. I don't want to impose my belief on anyone else, but that's my concept of it. And, yeah, it's like, all our life could just be over in a blink of an eye. No one would know any of our passions, our loves, like, our romances, like, our friendships, like, our struggles. And yeah, like I think ultimately we just want to put meaning behind a life that, and we want to share and like expand our understanding of things and share it with other people. So I just think it's really, really neat that like she has a quote there and she's like, there's millions of people and all of them are pretty much to be forgotten. And it's really true. It's kind of scary actually, hey?
Yeah, the way I kind of justify it is like just be the best person you can be, and like you're remembered in the impact you had on the countless people's lives you've touched throughout yours.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that even in more depth later in the episode when Gordon and Kelly have that chat because
Mm.
I think that man, this has made me think so much this episode. It's freaking awesome.
And this is why this show carries the true spirit of Star Trek, where you contemplate things and you think during the week, as opposed to contemplating like, have these writers seen the show? You think, wow, this is some powerful stuff that can apply to anybody, and it's really thought provoking as well as funny at the same time. They've managed to inject comedy and just the perfect amount in this episode, whereas laughing as well as just thinking deeply about life and many many complicated issues.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And you know what, Matt? Earlier in this episode when you asked me if we were going to do a time capsule, what would I put in it?
Mm.
I think I'm going to change my answer or
Oh
add
yeah.
something to it. I'm going to put this episode of the Orville on like a USB drive,
Oh.
and just pop it in there and be like, "You're welcome." Think about that. Like,
Yeah, I do that, and there's probably a couple books I put in there, maybe some stuff like that. But yeah, that's a good answer. I'd put in like the Orville season two, and I put in both seasons. I love season one as well, but
and our
looking forward
podcast.
to yeah, of course, you need that. That's the perfect companion, I'd say. But I'm interested to go back in season one to see if we get this much out of season one, or maybe season two was just this much of a smash hit.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that kind of lengthy kind
Yeah.
of go, but I mean, wow. Yeah, it's just too much to think about and not talk about sometimes.
Yeah, Gordon's talking to Laura. He mentions that he talks about how he learned to sing and he found out there was a way that he could get girls. So, of course, that's how he learned how to sing. That's the origin story of that, if you've been waiting. And I'm sure it's the origin story of how a lot of singers started learning to sing.
I was gonna say that's totally like how Scott Grimes learned to sing himself. Like,
I know. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. Um, yeah, Lauren brings up her ex's name, Greg, and Gordon says that it was his dad's name. And a lot of people were thinking that this could be a hint that she could have been like an ancestor of Gordon or something like that, which would have been extra creepy.
yeah, well, at least when they slept together, it was only really him sleeping with a hologram.
That's true. We're not going full Futurama here. We're not doing the nasty and the pasty. But
Not gonna be your own grandfather, but
yeah, yeah. Oh, we're gonna get a lesson on not changing the future from Mister I'm my own grandpa. Great, I love that. Laura gives Gordon her phone number, and at this point, he's fully invested now in the lie, and he's got to go synthesize his own phone if he's actually going to respond to her or not to break the reality.
Yo, and it's so funny too because when she gives him her phone number, he doesn't even know what it is. He's like, "Oh, what's this?" It's like anybody would recognize like a phone number, just like the little hyphens and like the amount of digits involved. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you're really not from around here, are you, Gordon?
Even when he
Like,
texts her back, like, "Hi, this is Gordon. This is my phone number," or whatever he said, or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You gave me your phone number or whatever it was. It's cool. I like the contrast of like future man talking with an iMessage to someone. That's cool.
Yeah, I love when he gets a call, but we'll talk about the call later. That was funny too.
He synthesizes his own phone, and then it's weird. I don't know how she can text him back. Like the simulator is always active. What's cool, I'll bring this up now, is when Gordon invites them to the game night, he says it's simulator two, so we know that there is two simulators at least on the Orville.
Hmm.
That makes sense because like a couple weeks back we're saying like, is there like a wait list? Like I don't know. You think they would have like one that's like reserved for the bridge, or at least it explains why there would be an opening and it's not always busy.
Yeah, totally. Because I mean, you think about the crew on the Orville. I don't remember, but it was mentioned in the Kalon War two-parter. Something like 300 people on board or something. So, you get off, you're in your crew quarters or whatever, you're chilling.
Hmm.
You want to go to the bloody simulator. It's like the closest thing to doing anything.
Gordon invites the bridge to game night at Laura's at Simulator 2. So yeah, we have confirmation now of two simulators, which is really
Two
cool.
simulators, check. Possibly more.
Yeah, because they're good friends, they decide to go, like Kelly and Tala, Lamar, and Ed. But I mean, they're not buying it. This is like wacky as hell. This is like, welcome to my wacky life. Come play Pictionary. Like, can you imagine that after work? Like, I've got to go play Pictionary in a simulation with one of my coworkers is dating a hologram.
It's like, okay, well, you know what? Time out real quick. Sorry about this. But I mean, Dr. Finn and Isaac, when they were dating, it's like, she made the comparison to a toaster, and she's like, I don't really care what people think. This is kind of like a parallel. It's like
It is.
Gordon's dating a hologram.
No, there is definitely some, connective tissue with those two stories. We see some old-fashioned Pictionary, which is, all we do here in 2015 and 2019. And we see everyone's trying to guess Gordon drew Julius Caesar, but no one knows. And he's like, look, it's the salad is right there. And like, oh, but there's such small pieces, like a Cobb salad. So he like drew a Cobb salad, even though it's Julius Caesar.
It's supposed to be Caesar salad, but he just drew a salad. But it's like the connection, it's just
Bob Cobb made a hell of a salad, and even then, it still lives on. Even Gordon's still talking about the magnificent Cobb salad. Makes me think of the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode with the Cobb salad, where Larry's trying to find that this guy says his father or grandfather invented the Cobb salad, and Larry can't accept that, so he has to like dig deeper and stuff.
Gets like a PI and shit.
Yeah, it's good. They're playing Pictionary, and Lamar says, "Does anyone know what time it is?" And Ed goes, "It's got to be around 2300 hours." And Laura's friend Trisha goes, "Oh, military time? Is that like a hipster thing?" And Ed just goes, "No, Trisha, it's not." And he gets up to leave. Like, the way he says it and like the look on his face is perfect.
Yeah, no, it's actually the funniest thing ever, man. I started losing it. It was just, oh, military time. Is that like a hipster thing? No, Trisha, it's not.
Like, he's beyond it. Like, he's as stern as Bortus in that, and he's just like, no, it's not. And they're out of there.
Yeah, no, it's super funny. Oh my god. But yeah, so yeah, it's actually pretty cool when you get to see the crew like all like laid back. It's like Casual Friday, that idea that was pitched.
And Dan missed out on it. What the hell?
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. Oh my god, I just actually noticed that.
I just realized what
Dan should totally been invited.
He
would have loved it.
He would have had a time. Except, he's too alien looking. You can't put a hat on Dan. They would know.
That's true. But come on, they have Isaac's program. They could just make him look like anything. You know what I mean?
Like, this is my cousin. He's a burn victim. Don't say anything. Or something.
A lot of swelling in the leg.
Yeah, exactly. If Roger can get away with it, I'm sure he could. But
no, you're right.
I just realized
Roger's walking around like that.
The podcast is worth it just for that alone. But yeah, everyone leaves, and it was nice seeing a hipster Tala. She looked pretty cute. Everyone leaves the party, and Gordon and Laura are sitting on the couch talking. And I love how Gordon mentions that he tried to draw Dick Van Dyke in Pictionary. And he said that he didn't know who it was, so he had nothing to work with or whatever. He's just working with what he had. And
we can only like imagine what the hell Gordon drew. Like Dick Van Dyke.
Nothing good.
I'm not gonna spell it out for you guys, but
let's just hope he was drawing
there.
Yeah, let's just hope he was drawing the thing that stops water from flowing and not anything else. But Jesus, it reminds me of the Family Guy bit when they had the PTV episode where they had the Dick Van Dyke Show, but it was being censored, so it was the Bleep Van Bleep Show.
Oh,
yeah, so that's old school stuff.
That's so funny, man. So yeah, Laura asked Gordon if he can make her not scared of flying. Because he's previously mentioned that he's like a pilot, and you know what? All these lies that he's like had, it never caught up with him. Like, he just had shitty luck in the end because she got back with her ex.
No,
I was waiting for it to crumble.
Waiting for it too, because like I even say in my notes later on, it's like, okay, how long can this go on? Because like when she says she'll take a flight with him, it's like, how the hell are you gonna do this? This episode gave me a lot to think about, but even like this little exchange here when Laura asks Gordon if he can make her not scared to fly, and then he brings up the airplane and Jello thing. How just picture you're in a thing of Jello when the turbulence is you within the Jello basically, and that little description like made me feel better about flying. I'm not.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, continue. I'm sorry.
I'm not huge on flying, and I do it just because it's necessary to get to places in a timely fashion. But this is actually really comforting. Just that little blurb there.
Yeah, you know what? When I was watching this bit, I actually like just visualized it in my head, and I was like, huh. Because like when he goes like you don't actually like change position, like it's all relative to the Jello. Like, once the wiggle stops, you're exactly where you were, and you always kind of were where you were. It's just kind of like, yeah. So I don't know, man. I found comfort in it as well. I don't fly a lot. And when I do fly, like I'm living in Toronto, as I've probably mentioned in the podcast before. We have a smaller airport called Billy Bishop, and they fly much smaller planes because it's on the island. So it's like little dual propeller, and I don't know. That's the closest airport to me. I don't want to go all the way to Pearson, and it's usually a bit cheaper. So I fly with them when I come back to Halifax and visit the boys and like the
Yeah.
family and everything like that.
Might be
So
able
I
to, might be
I
able to
get a
sketch
lot
it
of
out.
turbulence in like such a
Yeah.
small plane, and I remember when I was flying back to Toronto from Halifax. This was not last year, but the year before that for Christmas. You're coming over the lake, and there's so many turbulence. Like especially on that day, it was very
Yeah.
windy. I don't know what other kind of like factors cause turbulence, but I'm gonna say the wind was probably the big one.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, man, yeah, it was a little uncomfortable. That's what I'm gonna say.
I'd be freaked out too. And what's cool about this story is like Gordon is almost the plane trapped in Jello. He's like afraid to get out of the Jello. He's like trapped in this little box there where he can't meet somebody or he can't find anybody. He is just stuck. And no matter the crew is almost like the turbulence where they're living their lives and he just feels like he's stuck in this one same spot.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right. Actually, that's a really good connection to make, man.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's implied or not, but if you get enough string, you can connect anything.
No, it was good. I liked it, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's nice to know that Jello is still a real thing in the future. I'm sure that brand is still going strong, and they're pumped about that. It,
Jello now worth like oh,
yeah, we had Jaloja, now we have Jello or whatever the premiere. It's good stuff.
giddy
And
up.
yeah, so Gordon and Laura spend the night together, and they get a rude awakening as Kelly says, "This is Commander Grayson. You're late for work or whatever." And so he runs out of bed and rushes to get dressed and get to the bridge. Ben, have you ever seen something like this on a Star Trek show where someone's late for work?
I'm trying to think. Let me probe
Probably
my
not.
memory banks.
Of like 400 episodes of TV.
You know what? Someone's totally been late for work before. Like I know Tom Paris has definitely been late for shift before. Tom Paris is actually the pilot from Voyager, which is I'm gonna make that connection. Gordon's the pilot, Tom Paris is
There
the
you go.
pilot. Giddy up. That's my
I
connection.
don't
There you
think
go.
that that's too far off because I mean, if he's gonna get the Tuvok actor in an episode that Tuvok played a big role in Voyager, a similar story, then anything's possible with this show.
Dude, I wonder if any of the Star Trek team are gonna come and work on the Orville. That'd be
Dude,
amazing.
I was reading that they already got a writer that was working on Discovery season one that jumped ship and went to the Orville for season two. I don't know the name of the writer off the top of my head, but yeah,
Huh.
made a good
Neato.
made a good choice. Made a good choice. It's funny that you see him, you see Gordon getting woken up, but it's even funnier knowing that it's his like real life fiance, Adrian Padalecki or whatever, that wakes him up. So that'd be an extra level of a disturbing rude awakening. And yeah, it's funny. We see as Gordon rushes to the bridge and he's there talking to everyone, and we'll mention it later, but they're talking to Bortus who's smoking a cigarette, and they get interrupted by a phone call. Gordon's phone rings and he's talking to her, and this just shows how he's living in like two different worlds. He's got a phone there that's 350 years old or whatever, and he's talking to someone in a simulator. Like he's living like the fakest life. It's like playing Fortnite on mobile there at work or whatever. You're so out of it.
No, I love that. I know what you mean though. Like it's so crazy. He's living in like the oh my gosh, yeah, okay. He's living in like the 24th century. He's dating a hologram of a girl from the 21st century. Um, he has technology from hundreds of years ago. So he like yeah, his life is like all upside down and inside out and
He's a reverse Fry from Futurama too. He's living in the past. He's like taken from the future and put in the past, as opposed to taken from the past and put in the future.
yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that. You're right. Like he's trying to like make friends with all these people and like learn like like he found out what a phone number was pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and it's cool because like he could be a totally different person the more time he spends with them. Because Kelly says the people you spend time with influence you and change you. So he could almost be like a displaced time person. He could be using slang from our time. He could be saying words like eat and stuff.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. What a
I,
weird
I
way for language to be like brought back.
I wouldn't mind that if you saw like Gordon walking by as Bortus and Clyden are throwing through each other through the table, like, oh man, he just yeeted him through the table, even though it wasn't like much of a yeet. But anyways,
Just oof, like
Yeah. Later on, we see Kelly, Ed, Tala, and Lamar talking in the mess hall about what to do about Gordon, and they're saying stuff like, "Well, we could like turn off the simulator or put a ban on there." And then Gordon interrupts. He walks up in on them and he asks them about Laura and what they think about her.
Yeah, speak of the devil, eh? What? Gordon shows him a picture she sent him, and it's like a dog with a pilot's hat and like the little like aviator glasses or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, you see that? Like Laura says, or she found a picture of me or whatever."
And Lamar's like, "Yeah, man, looks just like you," like nonchalantly.
Gordon's like, "Ha, shut up, man." Like,
And like no one cares about this but you, Gordon.
I know it's
Like,
almost like he's I mean, yeah, it's so weird. It's like he has like an app that he's having a conversation with on his smartphone, and he's like, "Hey, look at this! Like my pretend friend, like my make believe imaginary friend is sending me photos of me." And it's like, yeah, okay, like, but like this is not healthy. Like,
I guess I'm not like super familiar with like pilot's hats, but I thought for sure it was like a Nazi pilot like hat that he
oh
had
my
as a dog.
God,
And
like the
this
Iron
wasn't.
Star or whatever.
Yeah, this was not a Count Dankula situation though. This was just, just me and my silly mind here. But no, I liked it. It was cute. Just Scott Grimes is fantastic in this episode. He's so good at playing like a lovable guy. He's just down on his luck.
Yeah, no, it's super true. He does an excellent job. Such a good role.
Exactly. Yeah, Gordon is the crew keeps telling him like they say that she's not real, but Gordon says that she's real in all the ways that matter. And then it goes, well, it's like the Cowboy Program or Bortus's Sex Lagoon. And I love the reference to Bortus's Sex Lagoon. Like if they ever do a theme park, I know where the
Oh
adults
no.
only place is gonna be named. But Gordon has a good point. He says that all those programs are written by them. The lore simulations are all from like elements of her life that the simulators compiled.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, like I guess what like he fails to differentiate between is that he loves someone that was a real person, but this isn't her. This is a
Yeah.
recreation of her, and he fails to really grasp that.
It's true. Well, it's like if you're in love with someone, you're married to them for your whole life, and they die, and you have the option to have a simulation of them. I don't think it wouldn't be healthy. Because it's not a living being.
No, absolutely, it's true.
It's very Black Mirror. This whole episode felt very Black Mirror-esque, and I loved it. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was super neat. So then, yeah, so like, people don't really accept that one, and then Gordon brings up Isaac, and he's like, like he's just, how do we even know what's going on there, blah blah blah
Trying to
blah.
justify it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to just make it okay, and they're like, they don't look convinced. So Gordon gets a little bit taken aback, and he's like, I'm not allowed to be happy. Like, you can bang a krill, but I can't date I can't date a sales rep at Marcy's.
This is a great one of the lines of the night there. I love that, and they always have to bring it up. But Ed goes, "She lied to me. I didn't lie to myself. There's a difference," and that's super wise and cutting too. That's like all he has to say. Like he said that written. It's like if Gordon brings that up, like I knew he might, so I'll have that down beforehand. One thing that's cool. One thing I noticed just as I was thinking about it a few minutes ago, women have such a tough time getting hit on nonstop in the 21st century and throughout time. I'm sure that it's kind of sad to know that like it doesn't end at death. Like we'll find a simulation and then just keep on trying.
Even though she's been dead for almost 400 years, man. I really, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, ladies. It was great to see the talk of the krill about how Talea, the nice Talea callback, which I'm hoping we're still bringing her up, which means we haven't forgotten about her. I'm hoping that she shows up by the season finale.
Yeah, we need to see Talea before it's all over. Like, they have some unfinished business.
Exactly. We get Casual Gordon again as he heads to the simulator. I'll never get tired of seeing that. We see him with the smile on his face. He's walking head on, and little does he know he's about to get his heart broken. The door's open, and he sees Greg and Laura talking in the kitchen, which is never good for the third guy.
Never good. It's very bad. That's a tough situation right there.
Oh, yeah.
Greg walks out of the room, and, he's like, hey, can I get anyone a beer? And they're like, no, and then shit gets really heavy. Laura tells Gordon that her and Greg are going to try and work things out. We've heard her say a lot of bad things about Greg, but I mean, I guess sometimes when you really love someone, you can look past um,
Their
their
faults.
weaker points. Yeah, their faults. Gordon is not only like upset, but he's like heartbroken. He's confused. Poor Gordon. I don't
And
know,
he just
buddy.
he just says like if that's how you feel, it's how you feel. Like he was like shocked by this, seeing it he didn't even think, or he overlooked it. He was so happy to find somebody that he didn't even think that there could be another.
Yeah, like we do know that he's overlooked some things. Like later in the episode, he's like, "Oh, it was all there. It was all there in the messages. Like I knew they got back together." Like,
It was the next scene where he's talking to Lamar. He says like I shouldn't have been surprised. I checked the phone data and it was all right there. They got back together.
well, there you go.
It's almost like fate. Like that story was written and he's intervening with it, and it's just not meant to be in more ways than one.
Wow, that's beautiful, Matthew.
Thank you. I'm hoping, as an aspiring writer, I have to make these connections.
What a connection to make, brother.
Yeah, so Lamar and Gordon continue their conversation at the bar, and Lamar says, "I'm sorry, man. I know how you're feeling right now." And Gordon says, "Do you?" And he goes, "No, no, not actually. I don't think I've ever been dumped. Even the worst breakup I've ever had, the girl was like, you can still come over and have sex with me whenever you want." So like Lamar can't relate. Like he can't relate to these like robot problems and hologram issues. He's doing just fine in the dating world. He's got a great thing going with Ensign Turco there. Whether it's a thing or not, they haven't quite put a label on it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're still not certain, either one of them, but they they fancy each other's time, that's for sure.
Yeah. Lamar tries to be there for him and continues. He says that for the long run, I think this is for the best, and that some parts of your life are just out of your control. Unless it's a simulator, in which case you can just delete the parts that you can't control.
Yeah, that seems to be the case in this one. But no, it's definitely true. I mean, like certain things are within our control and certain things are just out of our control, and we often get hung up on the things that are out of our control. And you know what? It's better just to like let it flow. Things just happen when they happen, and
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. In many ways, for Gordon, I think that's true, and also for Laura, who we learn later on that Greg was the one that inspired her or helped build up her courage to go and sing on stage. So the Laura that Gordon met isn't the same Laura without Greg.
yeah, it's true. It's we're gonna get into that in a minute here. It's super good. So Gordon enters a simulation at B.
B Fayette, which is interesting. She says she works at a Macy's, but the name that we see is B Fayette. That might be like a clothing line there, but that is a reference to Brandon Fayette, who works on the visual effects on this lovely show.
Hey, that's really super cool. It's also maybe in like the parallel world where she didn't meet Greg, right? Maybe she didn't
That's
work at
true. She's not even
Macy's,
working at Macy's. Ooh.
and now she's being promoted as a store manager or whatever.
When I first watched this, I thought that she didn't remember Gordon at all when you removed Greg from it. I thought he like totally altered the history.
It's like the timeline. How could you pollute the timeline?
No, but it turns out she does. She's just different for other reasons, like not getting into music. Yeah, I was just gonna say, Laura mentions that she wants to buy a ticket on one of Gordon's flights, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, how long can this lie go on? Like, is he gonna simulate a plane and like not show any of it, and somehow he's on there? Like, you'd have to write like a new section of the program.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty big lie. It's like, yeah, he'd need like help from someone else, I'm sure, like to like
Yeah,
write the whole program and shit. It's like, wait, you're gonna dupe your like hologram girlfriend into thinking you're like a real pilot and
yeah. When she suggests going the plane, Gordon's like, "Well, only if you let me sing with you." And then she says, "Like, I don't have the courage to do that." So we learn that she's a lot different than the Laura we last saw.
very, very different from the Laura that we know and love.
After this, we cut to Gordon in his quarters, and this is where Kelly enters. And Kelly gives one of the best speeches of this show, and it was so goddamn insightful. So Kelly enters, and Gordon mentions that Greg was there all along. He was the one that inspired her to go on stage. And then Kelly does her eye trick, and Gordon goes, "Huh?
You see it? I can cross one eye at a time.
So what?"
Ed taught me how to do that. It is a characteristic of Kelly Grayson that exists only because of my relationship with him. No Ed, no eye trick.
That's a hell of a romantic legacy.
Now imagine the reverse. If someone went and deleted Ed from my life.
No captain's chair, no war bill.
For any of us, humans are social animals. We're born, we're a blank slate, and over the course of our lives, we expand and grow as a result of external stimuli.
It's a pretty dry philosophy.
It sounds it, but it's not. Every single one of us is shaped by the totality of our relationships. People we love and the people we hate all make their mark. Whether we like it or not, it's who we are. It's reality. You can't just pick and choose the parts of your past which you want to change and be able to know how it's all going to turn out.
What if I never meet anybody else who makes me feel like she does?
Well, I can't answer that. What I can tell you for sure is the second you started editing her world, it became unreal. Just another simulation written by Gordon Malloy.
God, I'm gonna miss her so much.
People have been living and dying for as long as humans have existed. Most are forgotten, but not this one. She reached across 4 centuries and still got a guy to fall in love with her. We should all be so rare.
Damn, that's insightful. Like that's touching and it reaches through the screen and actually like makes you want to like change the way you live.
It actually does. It's such a moving, such a crazy, crazy. It's just so like true.
That's the best reasoning ever because like Gordon, this sucks, but like without this kind of stuff, there would be no ship that you and Ed wouldn't be able to be like best friends flying across the galaxy with Lamar, Isaac, Finn, Tala. You wouldn't have met Alara and had a great time with her. Things didn't happen the exact way they did.
Yeah, it's so crazy, man.
Just like if CBS hadn't have said no to Seth MacFarlane, we wouldn't have the Orville right now. We wouldn't have this glorious program that all can enjoy right now and for many years to come.
Yo, it's true, man. And it's really crazy how it makes you think about life in general. Like you said, like it just makes you want to be a genuinely better person and stuff. And it's like it's so true. It's like, every little impact we have on other people and this and that. Like anytime you talk to someone on the street, like you don't know what their life's like, you don't know how it's going to impact them. And I mean, just to be like the best person you can be, just to make like, like your friends and like family members and anyone that means, things to you, maybe like a spouse or like a significant other in whatever
Hmm.
capacity. It's like it's so beautiful when you really think about how people have changed your life. Because like I can actually like say like yeah like these people that like I've been very close with, like I know like where I've been molded in certain ways and how I've taken on attributes of things that they've done. It's
Mm.
just really interesting, you know what I mean? You don't often think about it when you're living your day-to-day life, but when you take a step back and maybe take a sit down, watch the Orville, or if you're listening to this podcast at work or something or wherever, um, it's really interesting to think about what kind of impact we have on the people around us, and we're not ever really aware of it.
No, as a person, we're like a planet just sitting there, and like people are like the asteroids that come and ding off the planet. Sometimes they create a beautiful waterfall, or they make a barren pit on the planet that you can't escape. It's such powerful writing, and that's the beauty of writing is it gives you this script that you can just live by or think about and improve. It has the power to, improve the way we live our life and just life overall for everyone if we all just, appreciate words like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, super, super good dialogue right there. Like I absolutely love that section of the episode.
So yeah, we see Gordon after this like great speech with Kelly. He's learned a lesson and he's learned something, and he goes into the simulator one last time and joins Laura for a beautiful duet that takes place over like 400 years apart, which is great.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful scene. She acknowledges him when he walks in. He walks up on stage and shares the mic with her, and it's a really beautiful scene. The song's very moving as well.
The song is called "That's All I've Got to Say" and it's from The Last Unicorn. It's a really really beautiful song.
It's good.
Yeah, I got chills from this duet, and afterwards, Gordon tells Greg that he's a lucky guy, and Gordon explains that he got a new job as a test pilot on some kind of spacecraft, and that he leaves tomorrow. Laura's obviously hurt by this, and goes, "Oh, so soon?" And he says to her, "I promise you this: you will not be forgotten." Which he knows from the video that she's going to make shortly after this is one of her greatest fears is being forgotten, and also from what she's told him.
And
She
it's interesting because she definitely was not forgotten. Like now the Orville knows of her. She's going to be in this museum, and Gordon has, fallen in love with her.
she lives on through the lessons that she taught him or the experience that he had and the valuable lesson he learned from her. That's great.
Absolutely, man. It's such a good scene, and like it just ends in such a great way. When Laura's talking about the time capsule, and she's like, "Hey, we need like a photo, like before I put my phone in or whatever."
Mm.
Greg takes the photo, and I don't know. It's like I was almost like expecting to see like the photo on the real phone and be like, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
Gordon's traveling through time, not."
I saw that going around. Yeah, that would be sweet. But I don't
Yeah.
know. My head would explode with the logic and how that would work time
I,
wise and stuff.
it wouldn't make any sense whatsoever.
And
So
someone said on Reddit, like, I bet Gordon's gonna go and find like your great 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 granddaughter or something and go ask her.
many.
Like you didn't learn it all. It's like, oh well, but still the great granddaughter. Like pull a Captain America there and the descendant. But No, that didn't quite work. And like they say, a photo is worth like a picture's worth 1,000 words. Oh my God, the expression on Scott Grimes' face there, where it's like, yeah, I'm in the photo. Am I happy to be here? Yeah, I've just learned so much, and like I'm in this photo in this place and time, and like I've learned so much from just being here. It's crazy.
It was such a good episode, man. Like A plot was so strong. It's really beautiful. Like, it makes you appreciate things. I don't know, man. It made me think a lot about life and about, relationships and friendships and
No,
just
I
like the
loved it.
impact people have on other people. It's like a big fish tank, and every little swim that this fish does, all those little ripples go across, and the other fish feel them, kind of thing.
No, it's great, and this is such a heavy story that it's nice that it was balanced out by the B plot, which was really fun. One of my favorite Bortus stories with Bortus and Clyde with the cigarettes was fantastic. It's great.
Yeah, B plot, I absolutely adore.
Yeah, luckily we got our cigarette spurt here, Ben here to tell us all about this. No,
What up?
no, you're more of a cigarette smoker than I, and it's quite a monkey on your back when you get into it.
I'm sure a lot of people out here that are listening probably smoke, and I think we can all relate. Like, yeah, like smoking's enjoyable, this, that, and the other thing, but it's never ever fun to have an addiction to anything, to be dependent on a substance.
But it can be fun on this episode.
Yeah, we can make light of it because I mean, hell, apparently people haven't smoked for hundreds of years back on Earth at this point in time. So
Which is
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah,
we're not going to get too heavy into like the negatives. We all know, addictions are, what they are. They're terrible, and it's a big burden that people have to overcome most of their life. But this episode was a cool way of showing just. I like how the Orville crew is so past the point of addiction that once they have cigarettes there, it's almost like a virus on the ship, and they have to contain it.
yeah. No, it's true, but it's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
we get bored of synthesizing a cigarette in his quarters, and Clyden seems interested and then eats it immediately.
He's like, it's not food. Like, I was curious about this flavor or something. And it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Dude, I guess they light them with their phasers. Like they've got like a fire feature because it looked like he was using it to light the cigarettes. Boris said.
Yeah, he totally did use his phaser. I don't know how that's possible, like some kind of very, very low setting thing. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's
But
super
it was
cool.
yeah, it was like as cumbersome as using like a kitchen lighter or a barbecue lighter there. Those ones are the worst.
Like get like one of those Bics out, and it's just like, wait, they still make Bics? And like,
Yeah. So once they start smoking, Boris is like, I've never experienced such a flavor. And Glenn says, I feel like I've been standing my entire life and I've just sat down.
you know what? It's so funny because I was watching this episode when this part happened. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I gotta go roll a cigarette. Like,
Yeah, people that are trying to quit, this is not the episode for you. You might have to see an edited version of this episode. And Clyde says, the tingles, do you feel them? And Boris says, I do. And then he goes to simulator 500 cigarettes.
it's like half a carton of smokes. It's like, oh my God. No, it's not. It's like 2.5 cartons of smokes. My bad. Oh my God. Yeah, it's a lot of
I
cigarettes.
love this. I love this so much. Just the way he says 500 cigarettes. Like he's so serious. Like there's no question. Like if you had people that were dealing with addictions and they had a synthesizer, this is what would happen, and it would be a disaster if you have access to your poison of choice there.
No, you're absolutely right. Just walk up, they have one cigarette each. He is so certain that he wants to smoke a lot for the next,
500 cigarettes.
just no doubt in his voice or in his mind. He wants 500 cigarettes.
And they know, like Dr. Finn, when they first unveil the time capsule, like mentions that it's bad for them, but they don't care. It's just interesting. Bortus is a wild man. He's got to try it.
He's going for it. So Tala calls Commander Grayson to bridge, and she's like, "Oh, we have a problem. Like, I'll explain it when you're here," kind of thing. And then we just kind of enter the bridge. The crew's back is to us, and we just see Bortus, and we just see smoke like curling up like past his head. He's just smoking loud. He's got an ashtray in hand, and Kelly pretty much tells him like, your shift's pretty much over. You can like head out. And he's like, are you certain, Commander? He's still smoking his dart. Oh my God. It's actually, Bortus should brand cigarettes. I would buy his tobacco.
There's so many photos of like the menthol man or whatever, and all those like all those ads for cigarettes with like Bortus in there. Like he's had the mustache and the cigarettes. Like we've gone to flavor country this season with Bortus. There's no
White-head
question.
gentleman. Like,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
yeah. But so Kelly tells Tala that like her and Ed will take care of it, like not to worry about it. So Ed and Kelly enter Bortus and Clyden's quarters, and they just find them like hacking darts, man. There's like hundreds of butts. Like they've replicated more cigarettes, I swear to thee. Like
they're just smoking darts. They have no time for breaking hearts. Just nonstop darts there.
Darts, baby.
Yeah, and there's like a ton of cigarettes in the ashtray and stuff. It's great. And then Ed orders them to go to the sick bay, and Dr. Finn says that he reveals that the Mocklins are susceptible to nicotine addiction, and Bortus asks if he's in any danger. And Dr. Finn says, "What happens if you hadn't had any cigarettes for half an hour?" And Bortus goes, "I don't know. I haven't had to experience that." That's how you know you might have a problem.
Yeah, no, it's super funny. Yeah, I like how it's like Bortus asks if he's in any danger. Earlier in the episode, when Dr. Finn's talking about cigarettes, she says it was like a known carcinogenic, which at the time was like often fatal, but it's like at the time. So this means we've either like eliminated cancer or we've learned to treat it and get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, could Bortus smoke if he just wanted to? And like, is there not like, cancer isn't like a tremendous threat in the 24th century. I mean, could he just smoke all he wanted?
Theoretically, but I mean, it's still like interfering with everybody. Everyone would have lung issues. Also, someone mentioned on I think Reddit's like, why did the sprinklers go off when he was smoking cigarettes? But I guess they're not too sensitive, like they were on the Happy Refrain episode.
That's actually interesting, yeah.
Yeah, when they're there with Dr. Finn, Ed asks if they can just like take an injection or something, but Finn says it'll take hours, if not days, to make one. Then later on, we go to the bridge and we hear Bortus loudly chewing gum, and I can relate to this because whenever I'm around my dad, he quit smoking a few years ago, and he's always chewing the gum, like the nicotine gum, super loudly. And like this isn't nicotine gum; it's just like regular gum, from what I understand.
Yeah, I don't think they specify that it had nicotine in it.
I think it was just gum, yeah.
But I mean, hey, like hats off to your dad for quitting smoking, man. Because like,
I'm really proud of him for that.
A hell of a time.
Ed asked Bortus what he's eating, and Bortus says it's called gum and it's used for addiction recovery. Kelly asks, "Is it helping?" And he goes, "It is not." Like he's gonna stop chewing his gum. It's not helping.
That's why he's smacking his gum so damn loud. He's furious.
Yeah, it's the rage of no nicotine. I love
for relief, and he's just not getting it, so he's aggressively chewing.
Yeah.
So we'll continue on, kind of like fast forward to the next Bortus and Clyden kind of cigarette. So Bortus enters his quarters and looks for Clyden. He asks the ship to locate him and finds him smoking a dart in airlock 2. Fancy
Not
that,
airlock
eh?
2. Jeez.
Yeah, of all airlocks.
Yeah, I hope they clean up the P corner back there. That's the shuttle bay, I think. But no, this was a great scene because he goes and when he finds Clyden, like Clyden's face of him smoking the cigarette, realizing he got caught was really good.
Red-handed, man. It's like hot damn. But yeah, so they fight, and Clyden's like, he starts finding one of the cigarettes in the mid-fight, and then Clyden's just like, "Where are they?" And he's like, "There is none. Like, it's not mine. Blah 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 blah." And then I just love it when he starts revealing them. He finally gives in. He gets one out of like the dresser.
Statue.
Yeah, from the statue on top of the painting.
He's like a magician pulling quarters at a kid's ears at a birthday party. It's awesome.
100%. And then there's just like the big storage rack, the pillow. It's like it's got to be another 500 cigarettes. Like.
Yeah, it was a lot of cigarettes in there. That was a great moment, and Clyde just gives him a look like, I can't believe all those cigarettes in there. And later on, we see that they're trying to get over it. We see Boris and Clyden are having supper, and they're arguing. Clyden says that they're out of Noctis sauce, and Boris insists that it was Clyden who put the last of it on his Pragas cake. And then things escalate, and they put someone through a table. Basically, they like scrap a little bit, and then Clyden basically picks up Boris, puts him through a table. It was pretty badass.
Yeah, this is when Finn enters, and she announces that she's finished formulating the injection. It's like, who's first? And they both just like whip their hands up.
Yeah, and that's the end of their little story there. So I assume they'll be cured next time. But that was a really great B plot. I liked it. It was light. It was light and fun, and it was good stuff.
And it was excellent timing. Like, I remember when the fight happened, and like they literally threw him through the table. That was like right after like a tear-jerking moment. And I was like, oh my god. And then I was like, oh my god. Like,
yeah, no, this was really touching. I loved it. It's nice. Like when I started a podcast, when I decided to start this, and you and I agreed, it's like, I hope the show is good. I hope we get good episodes to talk about. And we've had amazing stuff to talk about week in and week out. It's been great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like, thank you very much to everyone at the Orville. They're making our jobs a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's a joy.
It is. Like, honestly, I look forward to this each and every week when there is an episode, and if not, we're gonna work on something to kind of fill in the gaps, perhaps. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the push to 500 views and 500 listens total. We're almost there. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get there. But thanks to all you guys who've listened on Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube especially. We're climbing in subscribers. We're getting there slowly. It's been great. And thanks to everyone who decided to listen. And I hope you check out our blogs on Orbital Central. That'll be coming out when this episode launches, and I'll put a link on our Twitter and Instagram and other social media platforms.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Like 500 listens, it's pretty crazy. When you think about it, like sitting here right now, just kind of, at my desk and Matt at his desk, and we're just kind of chatting about something we both fancy quite a bit. And, just to think about like 500 people, like maybe not 500 people, but, 500 listens. Like, I mean, there's only 7 episodes. So, like, at max, it's like we still got like, like 80 something people who've listened to it. And I think that's great. Like, if
Yeah.
everyone has listened to every episode. I mean, I don't know how many people have actually listened. I know how many listens we have, but I just want to thank everyone who's tuning in and who continues to tune in. I mean, when you produce something, when you make something, like really that's all you want. You just kind of want people to appreciate it and to tune in, like talk to you about it and stuff.
Yeah, we've seen the impact the hologram of someone can have 400 years later. It's nice to see that people that like or subscribe or comment on our stuff, it really does bring joy to our days and just shows the impact that just, the small things can make on our lives right now.
Yeah, it's like the little ripple, we do something fun, and if you guys enjoy it and it brings pleasure back to us, and it's just kind of it's really nice. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in. It
Yeah,
was
if you'd like to,
fantastic.
if you want to give us a review on iTunes, if you like the show, that'd be fantastic. It helps us get our name out there and helps more people see us. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, guys, get us all up in that algorithm.
Yeah, it would be fantastic.
It would
So
be
Ben,
nice.
is there anything that you'd like to cover?
I think I pretty much summarized everything. There is one thing that I keep thinking about though. The B plot to me just reminds me of the King of the Hill episode when they're trying to quit smoking. They find that Bobby has cigarettes or whatever, and then they go buy a carton, and Hank makes him smoke as many as he can,
And
and
then
then
everyone in the
he
family
can't.
starts smoking
Then
secretly. Yeah.
yeah, behind everyone's back, and they get into fights. It just reminded me of that. But that's
Those are
pretty much
my
the
grits. I don't know you.
I don't know you.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on the episode. I think this was a hell of an episode. A lot of it speaks for itself, but if anyone wanted more, I mean, we talked about it for this. I think it's going to be a lengthy episode, and it was packed with content. I think we talked about a lot of cool stuff here.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a little bit longer than like the 55-ish minute mark.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is such a good episode of the Orville, and we just have so much to talk about. And I'm sure if guys keep tuning in, you'll love to hear it too. So
Yeah, for sure. Thanks you guys so much. And from the Lucy Lou system, for Commander Ben Bullerwell, this is Matt Murphy, signing off.